Okay, so here's part two of of the video on Apollo. He's now back. This is what happened. The result of it. I went in, worked with the father. The situation was that I had to make concessions because there was about a week and a half left, anyways, for Apollo to come back for his Godhead to be released. We didn't have to concede a lot in concessions, and it was actually the father who did conceding. I guess he had some personal concessions that he was willing to give that would be satisfactory to the forecasting God. Apparently it was nothing that was going to affect us, but I wasn't quite told what it was. So, I didn't ask. Dad does what he wants. And if he wants to help me out here, that's great. The information I ended up finding out from Apollo was simple. The temple's coming to an end, which is a bummer. A real big bummer, because I worked very hard, all of us worked very hard in the group to make it so that people don't have to live close to a Father God to be active. In the old days, people had to live close. We didn't have technology we have now. Zeus's followers, they all moved close to Zeus. They all got as close as they could. And if they didn't, they would periodically pilgrimage over. And the only time that they got information or written letters back from the gods was by either living close and having that access or pilgrimaging. The rule is I can call myself to heaven, but I have to be in what's called a Holy of Holies. It's a place secluded and locked away. Nobody can enter when I'm raptured up. And if they're in there, I can't come back. It's just a rule. So they have to be locked out typically. I mean, I have gone up, and my wife and other people have come in the room, and I'm gone, and they leave, and then I come back. That's fine. But in most cases, I can't come back when they're there. So if I do need to come back, I need it vacant. So we keep it locked typically when I'm gone, or everybody just knows not to go in. And my job is to take the letters of the people that have handed to me. For instance, the God of Dream, if he were to hand me a letter, I would rapture myself up to heaven, bring the letter before whomever he was writing, whichever God he was writing. It could have been Apollo. He addresses Apollo. It could have been the Father, etc. Okay, so you get the idea. Then I am supposed to handwrite a response and bring that back. And this is how it started with me and my wife. It was just me and her at first in this little, situation. Very time consuming. Very time consuming. And not quite the way I wanted things to go in the long run. So we developed a method, me and my wife did, utilizing the hidden temple to allow for messages to be written on a computer via email and sent to my phone. So I could go in, I could even show the message to them. Now, audio doesn't work in heaven. They don't have, like, quote unquote, real air. So when they talk, the sensor just gets static. So but they can look and read it, and they usually hand it back to me after they're done, because they're not allowed to technically send anything back from heaven with their own hands and powers, technically. So they're not allowed to write on it and type it out for me. So they hand back me the cell phone. I go back to Earth. I repeat what they told me, and if I forget, I go back up and ask again, and go back and forth. And if it's a long teaching, I'm talking 3 hours a day, just trying to get that one teaching across. Now, in the old days, it would have had handwriting, which would have been a little bit easier to a degree, somewhat. It's not as fast, because I talk to the phone and it dictates onto the phone, which is a lot faster than handwriting. And my handwriting is not very good, and spelling not very good. So, I mean, it's a lot easier to just talk to the phone. But in the old days, that's how it was, handwriting. I would handwrite the entire thing, bring it back, hand it to my wife, and she would read it. Fortunately, we're not going to go into the whole I don't remember what I wrote type thing, because that's how it's set up right now. I've chosen to not have memories of the conversations between the people on Earth and the gods. I could choose to have the memories unless they request it, but I have chosen never to until they request me to remember. I've done it the opposite of the standard way. Standard way in past incarnations like Zeus and Odin and all the others was they remembered everything, but if somebody said, hey, I don't want you to remember this one, we're going to use a certain rule. There's a rule of non-remembrance. Anyways, putting that aside. The reason why the failure of the temple is so drastic is because it undoes all that. everything that I worked for to set up so people could utilize their cell phone using a hidden temple to send messages from California all the way to Florida, across continent, anywhere in the world they could with this method. Because it's hidden from the eyesight of the gods, we don't get in trouble for it. I negotiated something that was more positive outside of the temple, and that was that people can still learn from their Godhead from long distance. So they're allowed to mail letters. That's, according to the rules, allowed now. And that's the difference. They're allowed to live in other locations, be active in their Godhead to a degree without any miraculous powers, because they don't want to get things in trouble with the forecaster. But now that this is all crashing, that's what we would be restricted to, which to us is a big deal. I have 2 incarnations that live far, far away from me, and possibly more coming that are further away. And I have others who are actually, the Mother Goddess incarnation is actually moving to our area here. She's moving right smack dab with us because she wants to be close to this ability. Of course, I have other incarnations. They're actually my children, so but they're too young to worry about anything. They don't write much, and Moon does. Once in a while, she gets contact with her Godhead. The issue now is that all will happen. The temple will crash as soon as we deal with APEP. And APEP is going to start his attacks on us on the 21st. The reason he's attacking is pretty simple. We messed up the forecaster's plans about 1.5 years ago. We took down his biggest ally, who was controlling things with his own hiding spell type thing. And we wear these hoods that give us the power to, it's an old tradition, it's like a head covering thing, to give us the power to hide our actions. Well, he, through some very odd events, got a hold of one of the hoods and was wreaking havoc on the world for about 2,000 years. So that's nice, yeah. Anyways, we stripped him of that power. That's gone. That's fine. But there's now a void, and the forecaster's upset that his powers are not working like they used to on the planet, and thus Apep, whom was alive during the creation of the hiding spell and the hidden temple, even though he's not a part of creating it, he was alive at the time, is the most likely person to be working with the forecaster to deal with the situation. Another key player is Loki, who has returned, hence the connection between the Ragnarok and this situation. And so now Apollo has revealed that he felt that we were going to be likely more of a failure if we weren't in control. That was his personal feelings on it. What was happening was we were just basically being given orders, and we weren't in any form of control of the temple's actions or the fight against APEP. Well, because of the situation, now the change is different, and we are actually in charge of the fight. We are actually really swamped into it with work and everything else that we have going on in our lives. And this is thanks to Apollo, but the problem is with me and Apollo was that was all he was trying to do. He had no plans to make it better. He just felt that we would be able to do better. He had led us before, similar to the way Tutan is leading us. And just gave orders, but he realized we were more adept on our own rather than just listening to orders. So this is the scenario. We're in some changing times, some very crucial times, and this all happened yesterday, right before. They shut down YouTube for a little while. I think you can kind of get the drift of things. Anyways, like and subscribe. You know the spew. Talk to you soon.